Did see initially a reaction in the shares. Now they're down about 1.5%. Why isn't this a bigger concern, seemingly?
I think this reflects the fact that, seems like at this point it might be an outlier. It's so much larger than previous judgments. And, the sense that also, even if it does come to pass that Johnson & Johnson does make a settlement of this kind of size, if there's any company that can absorb it, it's J&J.
You say if it does come to pass. Is there a chance it won't come to pass?
Definitely. They've had some success at overturning judgments in the past. Obviously a very big and strong legal team. And when you've got punitive damages of this kind of size, there's some history behind them getting overturned on appeal. So there's definitely a good chance that we won't quite see this number. But there are so many cases coming down the line, thousands of them, in fact, that I think I was a little bit surprised that the reaction was this meager.
I mean, I gotta say, Johnson & Johnson seems like one of these companies that over the years has had some really serious allegations leveled against it regarding their various products. I mean, the idea here, according to this particular suit, is that executives there knew that there was asbestos in these products, didn't put adequate labeling, didn't have adequate disclosure. I mean, for many companies, this would be a big problem.
Yeah, they've faced obviously many other suits over there. They had the vaginal mesh suits,
right,
that ended up getting resolved without too big of a hit to the company. But I think this lawsuit, which kind of explicitly makes the tie between the talc powder to asbestos to ovarian cancer, there's some concern that it might bring kind of a further wave of lawsuits now that you kind of see this big award, which might add to concern over time now that the level's been set so high. Now that at least the theoretical upside or downside rather of the lawsuits over time has definitely been increased, so that might be of concern if this turns out to not be an outlier in terms of the verdict itself and the size of the award.
No matter what happens with the actual award, the $4.69 billion, whether they pay that amount or it gets negotiated down, what kind of reputational risk does J&J suffer here? Because you looked at the share price, and as Julie mentioned, it's kind of not an extreme reaction given the eye-popping size of that number.
I think it's hard to say at this point just because, again, this is one verdict, one very large one, and obviously, J&J is out there saying that it still doesn't believe there's a link here, contest some of the evidence and the way that the trial was brought. But if over time, they end up settling at a large figure or so there's some admission of wrongdoing, then you might see some reputational risk, but I don't quite see that yet. And obviously that's coming through in the share price, I think.
Operationally, it seems like J&J knows how to handle these situations, or do they just have an amazing legal team? What's going on here? It's
a little bit of both. A company of that size that's in so many businesses. Obviously, you have a consumer product here, also one of the largest, prescription drug companies in the world, and then a device company where you kind of have a pretty high rate of lawsuits too. So obviously, a lot of experience in dealing with this kind of thing, and they'll continue to contest it very strongly, I'm sure.